Hi, my name is Nick and welcome to Distilling in Australia. Today I'm going to explore the question of why is distilling illegal in Australia? And I did Google that exact question, and together with reading the Excise Act 1901, the Excise Tariff Act 1921, the ATO Excise Licensing Application Form, the Australian Bureau of Statistics Crime and Health Stats, and the Towards National Measures of Alcohol-Related Crime in 2018, and also the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare report. So I've read those reports, not word for word, but a bit like eating your favourite steamed pork bun. I took away some of the nice fluffy pastry around the outside and got down into the mince of it, got down to the tasty stuff. So did a lot of reading, but a lot of research. Now, by doing that research and doing that reading, I managed to arrive at the conclusion that there are actually four main reasons why distilling in Australia is illegal without obviously having the proper licenses. First reason is, of course, social. The second reason is economic. The third reason is health and safety. And the fourth reason is security. Now, this is my interpretation from the data I have read as to the reasons. But first, because we're living in the 8th best country in the world, according to the United Nations Human Development Index, here is 5 seconds of your life that you are never going to get back. I know, I'm sorry, but it's a necessary evil. I have to protect myself and you. Now, before I get into the first four reasons, I would just like to say a huge thank you for everyone who has subscribed. I must admit, I wasn't expecting there to be this much interest in what I'm producing. Remember, this is a journey that I'm undertaking, and I just happen to be documenting it to share that experience so other people can learn from my mistakes and learn from my successes. So for everyone who has subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it really helps with the YouTube algorithms. And share the videos with friends if you want, okay? But that would help as well. And also comment. I mean, I can learn as much from you as you can from me. So, this is a two-way street, and there are people out there that know way more than me about this. So, another special thank you for my Patreon budding distillers. I wasn't expecting support so soon, but support I got. So I'm still working on automating the data so the budding distillers can get that as I upload it bit by bit, but that'll come. Give me a couple of weeks and I'll sort that out. If you can financially support the channel, that would be great. Just go to patreon.com/distilling and anything that you can do would be gratefully appreciated, because this takes up a lot of my time, a lot of research to do all this. Now, what I'm trying to do here is trying to achieve a responsible, legal and safe micro distilling community. And that's the name of the game. And in fact, I've actually thought of a name of it, and it's called the Micro Distillers Association of Australia. Now, I don't have time to set up an association and go through what needs to be done to get that in place. But if someone wants to run with it, by all means, go for it. Because the thing is that with the Australian Tax Office, they have a lot of discretionary power to make bylaws. And if we can, as an association or as a group of interested distillers at a micro level, convince the Australian Tax Office that what we're doing is safe, is legal, is responsible, then maybe we can get some changes to the licensing criteria to just make it a little bit easier for us to be able to pursue the craft or the art of distilling and to share that knowledge among people in Australia. Now, of course, together with this is my own personal goal, and that is to be selling 100 bottles of my particular boutique product within the next 5 years. So that's why I'm doing it. So you've got to, some people are saying, well, why is it so important to know why it's illegal? Well, it's important for me to understand why it's illegal to enable me to properly respond to the application questions. And it's about understanding what the Australian Tax Office is looking for. You know, they're asking questions, but if you understand what they're looking for, then you're able to answer the questions in a manner that is going to satisfy their need for the information for them to be able to issue you a license. All right. Now, from what I've heard and read and seen, the ATO is more than happy to issue the licenses, but you have to demonstrate as an individual or as a business that you are capable and responsible to carry on that business. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's why it's important to know what the reasons behind it are. So I'm going to start with the first one. The first reason is social. Now, this is not political, all right? And please, I don't care which side of politics you're from. Excise duties has been in place since 1901. So all sides of politics have been involved in excise duties and reaping the rewards from that. So it's not about anything political. So, you know, if you want to fight it out in the comments below, by all means, but I won't get involved in that because this is nothing political about this. So in the studies that I read, which I mentioned earlier, alcohol is a contributing factor to a lot of homicides, a lot of road fatalities. 20% of hospital admissions was as a direct result of people having to recover from drinking too much alcohol. In actual fact, in 2018 and 2019, there were 75,772 admissions to public hospital from alcohol-related incidents. It's also a major contributing factor to homelessness, domestic violence, and physical assaults. Now, I'm going to give you some stats here, and I'm sorry, I know this is probably a bit boring, and you're sort of thinking, well, you know, okay, but this is important to me because this is the responsibility. This is the responsibility part of the application process. Is if you understand the impact that alcohol has, then you can understand the reasoning behind excise duties and why they're charged, and how that can modify consumption behaviour. But just let me read these few stats, and it's only this one section I'm going to do because I could go on for hours, but I'm not going to. So in the 18 to 24 year age group, 68% of males and 60% of females attributed alcohol as identified alcohol as a contributing factor to a physical assault. 25 to 34 year olds, it was 59% male and 58% female. In the 35 to 44 year age group, it was 63% males and 41% females. And in the 45 to 54% age group, it was 60% males and 51% females. And in the 55 plus age group, it was 56% males and 35% females. So alcohol, just in one sector of our society, which is physical assaults, is identified as a contributing factor to an awful lot amount of just physical assaults. Now, if you actually ask a nurse or a doctor who works in a public hospital emergency ward in any of the major cities, they will tell you that if it wasn't for alcohol, they wouldn't have a job. And so the impact of alcohol in our society is enormous. And look, I enjoy a drink. Okay, I'm no wowser here. I love it. I wouldn't be getting into this and trying to do this if I didn't enjoy having a drink. So this is the point, is understanding the problems and then understanding what the tax office is looking for from us. Okay. Now, the second reason is, of course, economic. And most people will say straight away, oh, look, just the government wanting to tax us, and, the government's ripping us off and all that sort of stuff. But excise duties have been around since 1901, okay? They've been around since Federation. So it's been a source of income for the government since the very, very beginning. Now, to give you some idea, in this current year, they're estimating that the government will earn around about $7.23 billion from excise duties or tax over this coming financial year. So that's $7.23 billion. But if you compare that with the expenditure on public hospitals, the government spends $71 billion on hospitals, just public hospitals. That's not private hospitals, that's just public hospitals. So the revenue they earn from alcohol is only about 10% of what it costs them to run public hospitals. So yeah, it's a small fraction of the overall cost. Now that doesn't include police, doesn't include emergency services, it doesn't include the courts. I mean, there's all sorts of areas that those figures don't include where alcohol has an impact. But if you break it down, the tax we're paying on average for adult Australians is $45 per annum per year on average across the board on excise duty. Now that represents in total less than 2% of the government's revenue. It's about 1.3%, 1.35%, somewhere there. So it's not a huge part of government revenue. Now, why they do it is it's a supply and demand curve, and I will show you the supply and demand curve. But basically, if you buy a bottle of rum at, if you buy a bottle of alcohol at let's say $50. Now, depending on the strength and volume of that bottle, you're paying roughly about $24, $25 on that bottle in excise. Okay, so the production and retail profits and costs is the other $25. So nearly half of it goes in excise duties. But what that does is that if you were able to buy that product at say $25, then the demand would be a lot greater. You would sell a lot more product. And at the same time, by having the excise, it increases the cost of that product, which means that there is less of a demand. So although they are generating income from the taxes that they charge on excises, they also control the demand, the amount that is sold, because we are all price sensitive. So it's a way of controlling the demand and minimizing, but try to control the impact that alcohol has on our society. So as a micro distiller or as a producer, if we are paying the excise, and let's just say $24.33 a bottle. Now that's based on a 700 ml bottle at a 40% alcohol by volume, okay, or 80 proof, if whatever you like. Now, the government also has a rebate scheme. So for eligible distillers, you can get a rebate of up to $100,000 for excises that you've paid. Now, the formula works out that it's on the alcohol content. So it's 2/3 of what 60% of what you pay you can get back. So it works out that you could sell 6,850 bottles of this particular alcohol, and you would then get a refund in excise of around about $99,996 if you do the calculations. So that's equivalent of a $14.60 excise refund per bottles, which means that you're paying $9.73 in excise per 700ml bottle. So as long as you stick to the micro distilling level of manufacturing, the amount that we would have to pay as a manufacturer is only $9.73 or $9.75 per bottle. Now, to me, that's a small price to pay. I know that no one likes paying tax, including myself, but if I'm paying $10 a bottle in tax, well, I can live with that because I know that that money is helping to pay for the social impact that the product that I am producing has. Now, the third reason is health and safety. Now, one of the biggest things that the Australian Tax Office is looking for is experience. It's a bit like the chicken and the egg. You're not allowed to own a distillery, you're not allowed to manufacture alcohol, you're not allowed to do any of these things without having a manufacturer's license, but you can't have a manufacturer's license unless you can prove you've got the experience. So, chicken and the egg. And I think I know how to overcome this issue, and I am going to, as part of my application, incorporate that also into my business plan. And I talked briefly last week about having to have a business plan, and you must have a business plan. So these are all the templates that need to be drawn up. And I know it probably sounds a bit scary and a lot of work, but I'm going to do the work, and it will be available to those who want to subscribe on Patreon to use as templates, and you can adjust it and muck around with it and alter it however you like. And obviously, if I get rejected and what I've done doesn't work, then I'll modify it and try it a different way, So it's the old story. If you bang your head against a brick wall, all that's going to happen is you're just going to end up with a sore head and a headache. So my attitude is you just keep walking along the brick wall until you find the door. And then eventually you will find the door and you'll be able to get through. The other issue that they're looking for is hygiene and sanitation. You understand the importance of hygiene, sanitizing and how that works. That's an important part in the application process. Things like consistent use of recipes and infusions, being able to document that, having a documented process of production, the steps you take each and every time. And if you do document these steps and processes, you've got to stick to them. So don't document something that you're not going to do. Only document things that you're going to do. The other thing is they're looking for is consistency of output and product. So they want to know that by following your process, by having consistent produce and consistent processes, you're going to end up with a consistent product at the end. Knowing at what level you're going to make your product available for the home market. Now, home consumption. Now, I'll just touch on home consumption. In the Act, it refers to home consumption. Home consumption does not mean consumption of alcohol in your home. Home consumption, as a definition under the Act, means it's available to the Australian public. So as a manufacturer, you're not liable for excise duty until such time as that product is available for consumption in the home community. So it's very much if you are manufacturing your product, then you store it at a high ABV alcohol by volume percentage, say 130 proof, which is about 65% alcohol, and you store it in the barrels or however you are, and you leave it there, and you don't need to pay excise tax on that until it comes a point in time where you're making it available for home consumption. So that's something that you need to remember. So you're not up for that excise bill as you make it. You're up for that excise bill as you sell it. And that's a very important point. Also, it's about understanding what to keep and what to discard. So, you know, the cuts and at what levels you do that, and you have to document those stages of how you do that. And also the responsible recording of your manufacturing and distribution of your product. So you have to say, okay, this is the produce that I'm getting in, this is the produce that I'm using, and this is the end result of that process that I am producing X amount of consumable product. Therefore, it can, by examining those records, they can tell that you're not off on the side making a sneaky still or two of alcohol. So they're all the very points that the ATO is looking for through the application process. And that's not all of it, but again, it's my perception of what's going on. And the fourth issue is security. Now, they're very much interested in, are you of good character? Because they will do national police checks on anyone who applies. Who are your associates and your relationships? So what they're looking for is criminal involvement, okay? And if you're associated with people, especially business partners, they too have to provide national police checks. So it is very much trying to keep the criminal element out of the alcohol manufacture and distribution process. So it's not, I mean, there will always be illegal manufacture, and I know that there's lots of people out there who are illegally distilling, and you know, that's fine, but you know, if you get caught, up to an $85,000 fine or 2 years in jail. So, you know, that's the risk you take if you do it. Another thing is security. Now, the security of your premises. So, you know, you might have to have some sort of alarm system, some sort of camera surveillance system, some sort of making sure that where you're storing your manufacturing equipment and produce is safe and secure and lockable. And that's a big part of the application form as well. So it's also very much about weeding out unscrupulous persons so as not to attract the criminal element into the distilling community. So I know there's a lot there, but if we just keep to the main focus of, you know, the social impact, the economic conditions and impacts that it has, and the collection and the proper payment of the collection of excise duties, health and safety, and of course security. So you keep those four factors in mind during this application process, then we can hopefully effectively move on and successfully answer the questions that the ATO is asking in our application and be awarded a manufacturing license. Now, not only is there a manufacturing license, you've got to have, you've got to get a permission to purchase a still, you've got to also get a storage license, and you also got to deal with the local council as well. So there is a lot that we need to go through, and I'm sorry this has taken much longer than I wanted to. I'm going to leave it there because honestly you're probably sick to death of it if you've managed to get this far, but thank you for your time. The next video I'm actually going to start the application process and going through the application, and so yeah, we'll probably try and get 2 or 3 questions done each video and just go through the process. Now it's probably going to take me a couple of weeks to get set up for some of the administrative things that I've got to organise, but once they're done, then I'll start recording another video, and this will be the beginning of the application process. So thank you for watching. If you can help, by all means, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to get in touch with me, here is my email address, and ciao for now. Thank you. Distilling alcohol is illegal in Australia unless you hold the appropriate licenses and permits. I am not a lawyer, and the contents of this video are not intended to be legal advice. Do not rely on any information contained in this video and seek your own professional legal advice before making any decisions. Be aware, the Australian Tax Office and local law enforcement agencies will be taking interest in this channel due to its content. Please keep this in mind before posting any comments. Any comments posted are the opinion of the person posting and not of this channel. Let's get started.